Hello everyone, my name is Wayne.
And I'm Rebecca.
And we are your Bourbon Journey.
Welcome to episode 14 of Bourbon Trail Tales and Tastes, where we are back in Louisville, Kentucky and visiting Copper Kings Distillery. Wow, what do you remember about that day of visiting Copper Kings?
Well, there's a reason why I'm wearing my San Diego Padre hat. Because back when we were originally on the trail, Rebecca has this really epic hat that's got like 70,000 pins on it.
And it weighs like 45 pounds to wear it.
And
someday on one of these videos I'll wear it, but not today.
I think it has fireworks that come out and things like that. So it just reminded me of something I've heard in the past, like you need to have a gimmick. So at that point in time, I decided to wear my Padres hat because I was still paying attention to baseball. And so I walked into the distillery, and we met with a few other people that were there, and we were taken down to the fire pit by this gentleman who, of course, ended up having to be probably the one Dodger fan in all of Louisville.
He was a nice guy. He was a good guide, but it was just funny. That started off the whole thing with their bantering about Dodgers versus Padres. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, and I won the beat down because remember, the customer's always right.
And at this point in time, this visit took place like Halloween weekend. I believe our visit at Copper Kings was October 28th specifically, and it enabled us to get our 15th stamp on the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. So it was a nice late October. So probably the Padres weren't in the playoffs or anything like that at that point.
Not in, well, let's see, 2022. Actually, they were. Anyway.
So yeah, so we met up, and then it's a really cool place. If you've not been there before, and I'm guessing if you're watching this, you probably have not, but it's in like the Nulu part of Louisville, which is kind of new, kind of gitchy area. And it's not too far from Rabbit Hole, which we'll be doing next, I believe. And their whole area out front is made with cargo containers.
Yes. Which
is really cool. They have like different things that are made for the summer. We have never been there in the summer when all these things are open. We've gone in the winter and in the fall and different times like that when they're not doing their outdoor things as much. But that might be something for us to consider because they have a great patio experience, supposedly. We just haven't experienced it yet.
Well, the other thing that we were told there that kind of made me not want to maybe go in during the summer is that's kind of basically the area where there's a lot of butchering or some stuff going on. And basically we were warned that there are periods of time where it stinks so bad down there that you don't want to be in the area.
Well, it's known as Butcher Town. And they actually have something, this is not what we're tasting today, but they have something called Butcher Town. Yeah. Because there is Butcher Town very close, just outside of Nulu is Butcher Town. And that's where for years, it was all the butcher shops were there and the big, like commercial type of places. I think there's still one or two though. So I guess it can still be kind of, you can smell it.
Well, we were told we were there on a good day because the wind was blowing in the right direction. So then walking through and seeing they had several pot stills.
Pretty good sized pot stills too.
Very big pot stills.
Yeah, they were large. It was kind of interesting that they had that many large pot stills in their production area. We didn't get massively into production. They talked a little bit about their pot stills and some of their processes, but we didn't get deep. I don't remember getting deep into the conversation about that.
Yeah.
I think they mostly make brandies and such.
Yeah.
They're very known for their brandies. And today we will later be sampling this, which we've had a little bit of, just saying.
It's been a while.
Yeah, but my favorite part of the tour itself was after we left the production area and went into what they would have. I think they had to go downstairs down another level to, it's almost in the basement, so to speak, where their rick houses are. And their rick houses is just kind of gorgeous because all the barrels are really pretty. They have all these designs on them, and they've brought in barrels from all over the place because they do a lot of finishing. And so you can see very familiar barrels.
Buffalo Trace was one, I remember.
Yeah, and Kentucky Peerless.
Yeah.
And you see a lot of barrels in there that you would recognize as distilleries, but there's also wine barrels in there. But that wasn't the most fascinating part. The most fascinating part is they believe in aging via music. Now, we're both big music fans, but They have playlists that each and every employee gets to create a playlist. And the playlist will run for, is it 8 hours?
Yes.
And then someone else's playlist comes up. And the whole idea is the vibration from music will cause the barrels to vibrate and move. And that will cause more, in a lot of rick houses, you're looking at the heat and the cold, having it in and out of the barrel. But they're looking at how do we make the vibrations almost a constant in and out of the wood based on the vibrations of the music. So you never know what, it's pretty loud in there. And when they bring a tour in, they do back it down just while the tour's in there. And then it's blasting after that. Because we were in there very recently in like December, I think it was. And we could hear it from where we were that they were blasting that music. I mean, so it could be anything. It could be country music for one person. It could be rock and roll for another. It could be, it could be rap for another person. You just never know what they're going to pick for their playlist. I thought that was really interesting. I don't know how much scientific proof there is in that making the barrels age differently, but I found it fascinating. And it was the only time we've been anywhere like this that did that.
Well, I remember the music that was playing that day because it was hip hop and rap, and I loathe both styles of music. I'm a heavy metal rocker, and to play hip hop and rap to me, I just kept looking at those poor barrels and I'm like, I'm sorry.
So once we finished that part, that was kind of the end of the tour.
Yes.
Then they took us back way upstairs, like the roof area, and they have a rooftop bar, and then to the side of that is a very small like tasting room where we went through several things, and there were things you got to pick which you wanted to try, and other things you didn't have to try, right? But there are certain core products they wanted you to try, especially their apple brandy is very popular. We also tried the absinthe that day, and we did buy it, and a few other things, but we tried those things, and we decided on a couple of things. We got their base product, apple brandy. We also got this one, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. But then we went out, and because it was a beautiful day and it was about ready to be sunset, we went on the outdoor. It was late October. It was still beautiful weather. We went outside, and they have a phenomenal kitchen. We had several appetizers and a couple cocktails, and enjoyed watching the sunset. And hot air balloons were taking off nearby. It was just gorgeous. So if you can only stop in and you can't get a tour, at least go up to the gift shop and then go up to the upstairs bar and maybe sit out on the upstairs outside bar area and enjoy the sunset, or looking over Louisville during the day. It's really pretty. There's a lot of bridges to see and things like that. It was really nice. I enjoyed that a lot. So should we get to the taste portion and talk about this a little bit?
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about what we're going to be tasting today, because they don't have any bourbons or anything like that. So we kind of went to the next best thing. This is a brandy finish in bourbon. So let's talk about that just a bit. So this is the Floodwall Apple Brandy. It's 100 proof. And basically what they do with this is they take their typical brandy, apple brandy, and then they put it in Kentucky bourbon barrels and then in sherry casks. And it is copper pot distilled, non-chill filtered, and it is 100 proof. So it's kind of an interesting combo of flavors with the brandy and the bourbon and sherry cask. As I recall, when we first tasted, I was thinking that I might like it better if it had just been in the bourbon cask.
Yeah.
But they did the sherry as well. So we have not had it for a while. We hit it pretty good when we first got it. We drank it outside, I think on the patio.
We did.
We may have had it with a cigar because brandy goes well with cigars. So let's take a look at this and see what we think.
Good color, kind of a medium amber.
Yeah, it's kind of a pretty color. You can tell that it's not just a brandy, that it has been finished. And it has some really nice legs forming that I'm thinking is going to be really nice. I bet it's been at least 18 months we've tried this.
It's been quite a while.
I'm going to check out the nose. Okay, now my first thing on the nose was actually bourbon. But
I get the brandy.
Then I got the hints of the brandy, apple brandy specifically, because you're getting some really nice apple notes in there.
There's a mix of the bourbon and the brandy, and
I think my confusion comes in with the sherry cask. And I think that's what we talked about before. If this had just been a bourbon finish, or maybe just a sherry finish, but the two seem to confuse me a little.
And to kind of quote somebody that I know that's talked about this, sometimes you'll put like a bourbon or a whiskey in another barrel to try to improve it and hide the lack of quality. And in this case, that is not the case.
No, I mean, it's pretty interesting. I'm anxious to taste it for the first time in a while. So
Yep.
Cheers to Copper and Kings and their finished apple brandy.
Yep. Cheers. Go Padres.
Okay, so on the palate, the first thing I'm getting is apple brandy. It definitely leads with the apple brandy.
It leads with the apple brandy. Apple brandy backs second. It bats third. It bats fourth.
But I am getting some oak notes and stuff.
For me, the bourbon comes batting fifth. It's there, but the brandy is right in the front.
I am getting a little bit of the sherry notes. There's a little sweetness from some grapes supposedly in there. It's very light. I would say that the bourbon cask took over the sherry casks in this case.
Agree.
I'm gonna try it again. Yeah, because with the apple, I'm getting the cinnamon notes from the bourbon barrel.
Yep.
And some caramel. So this is like a caramel apple treat. That used to be a great fair treat, a caramel apple. And I'm kind of getting that note with this, with the cinnamon and the caramel, or the cinnamon apples where they dipped them in the hard cinnamon and you had to bite through it. And thank heavens we were young when we did those. We didn't break our teeth. So that's what's giving me the vibes of I'm not getting a lot of the sherry on it.
Whatever she said. I mean, I get it, and I get the brandy right away.
Mm-hmm.
Then I get this hit of cinnamon, which is extremely
like
different.
red hot candy cinnamon. That's kind of what I'm feeling. That's why I came up with the red hot candied apple.
I would rate mine cinnamon challenge type. It's a little hot.
I feel like the cinnamon piece that's probably coming from the bourbon barrel is taking over the sherry. I'm not getting much of the sherry cask.
I'm not getting any sherry.
I got it on the nose a little bit, but I'm not getting it on the palate.
It's the sherry at the beginning, then the bourbon takes over. The cinnamon is the main event in the bourbon, and it runs the table.
Yeah.
There's no barrel. There's no pepper. They're black or white. No barrel,
Are you talking about
no
the finish,
leather.
then?
Yes.
I'm gonna have to take another sip for the finish.
I am not getting anything else.
Yeah, cinnamon apple. I mean, if you like cinnamon apple, it's almost, and it's close to, I'm thinking about, I was going to the fair, with the fresh apple, but it's almost like if you go to Cracker Barrel and you get their spiced cinnamon apple like as a side. I mean, that's kind of what it reminds me of as well, because it's very spicy with the cinnamon and sugar, so to speak. So it kind of gives me that vibe a little bit. But I'd say the finish is medium to long. It's still kind of lasting for me at I think I said it was 100 proof. So it's not real proofy, but it's a brandy. And they aren't typically high proof. So what do you think overall?
It's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably pull it out again and drink it.
I wouldn't buy another.
I probably wouldn't buy another one either. It's just not in our lane today. But for our lane that day, this was the closest thing to what we wanted. Yeah.
I think it's one that if you like brandy, and if you like basically the profile that's been described, depending on how much it is, how much was it? Did you say in there? Forgive me for not remembering. How much did it go for?
Let me check, and I'll get right back to you. Yeah, we paid $63.
$63.
I think you think about it, it's finished twice.
Yeah.
So I mean, and it's a craft distillery.
Yeah.
I think that's a worthy price.
I agree. So for the price, you definitely want to try it, and
you would be able to if you went on the tour for sure.
Yes.
Because they give you a lot of options, and they had other brandies too. We just kind of gravitated toward the apple.
Yes.
Because that's kind of it leans towards more my profile at that time, so I lean towards that one. Yeah, and they're right over there in the Nulu area, and now I think Whiskey Thief is over there as well. It's really close to Rabbit Hole
Mhm.
and not too far from Angel's Envy. So there's a lot happening in the Nulu area right now. So there's no reason not to visit there if you're in Louisville. Now, if you're staying in on Main Street on Whiskey Row, you probably want to drive there because it is a little bit for walking, especially if you want to buy any bottles, just saying.
Mhm.
So, make that opportunity to drive over there and then hit all those things up that are in that area that are on the trail and really have a lot to offer.
Like I said, it's a really good area. You have Rabbit Hole down there, really, really good place. It's really cool. But to me, once again, I would go there to eat.
Yeah.
It's one of
Stop in the gift shop.
Yeah.
See what they have.
And, I don't know in regards to if they would do something like if you looked at a bottle, say something like this, and you're like, hey, can I try that? They might do it because they seem
I bet they have flights in the bar.
Yeah, they seemed very generous. And they actually had a pretty decent bar, too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and it's not just their stuff in the bar. They have an actual bar, and they do a lot of cocktails up there. So I would say you could probably get a flight if you can't get a tour that day. I would recommend a tour because it's very fascinating,
yes,
especially with the music and all that stuff. But if you can't get a tour and you're just happen to be in the area, go up to the bar and you can probably get a flight, and that way it might help you pick some bottles to purchase that day and enjoy their rooftop area and the great view and the food. I mean, because it's fantastic.
Yeah. And we also know, because of people that we follow on Facebook, several of what I would consider bourbon royalty actually tend to make appearances down there.
Mm-hmm.
I know that Maggie Kimbrell was just down there about a week ago, taking pictures and having dinner with her husband.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, they're people that really are into bourbon, write about bourbon, talk about bourbon, and live the bourbon life that go there. And they go there to eat.
Mm-hmm. And enjoy everything that Louisville has to offer.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it is a cool place because there is no place that we have gone on the trail that has used basically those containers.
Cargo containers. It's amazing.
And they've designed it, and it's really cool to see. And those things, if you're talking about building a building as compared to buying one of those cargo containers and setting it in place and making sure it doesn't move, that's a heck
and they're
of a savings.
airtight, watertight, everything else. That's why that's how they're designed. So it's really pretty smart to do that. And actually, if you just wander around Nulu a little bit, they've actually built some homes in the area, some small homes that are made out of these same cargo containers. So it's kind of fascinating. You can look across the street and you can see, oh, well, that whole block is built out of cargo containers. That's kind of fun.
Copper and Kings, you are doing really good stuff out there, and you gotta go eat there.
Go visit.
Just go visit. It's outstanding. It's a fun place. Good people that work there. Cheers to all of you out there. If you like what we do, follow us, and always remember to drink responsibly. Cheers.
Cheers.